Well, Donald Trump spoke out this morning against the Obama administration's directive on transgender bathrooms, saying that it should be left to the states. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I believe it should be states' rights, and I think the states should make the decision. They're more capable of making the decision. I felt that from the beginning.
So you're against this administration's directive?
I just think it should be states' rights. I think many things actually should be states' rights, but this is a perfect example of it.
And Trump campaign national spokesperson Katrina Pierson joins us from Dallas. Katrina, thank you so much for joining us. Well, it appears that Mr. Trump is in line with a number of Republicans on the issue that transgender rights in public schools need to be left to individual states to decide. That said, you know, just last month he criticized North Carolina for passing legislation that was actually directed at blocking transgender individuals from using bathrooms for the sex that they identify with. A stark contrast with Republican leaders there.
Well, he also said that the local people should be involved and it should be a state issue, and his concerns were more about the economic impact that the state of North Carolina was receiving along that process. And this is a state issue. In Title IX, there is no definition of gender, and now you have psychologists weighing in. This is something that affects a very small fraction of the population, and to force all 50 states to do one thing when there may not even be a transgender in that area is what we call government overreach.
And would Mr. Trump ever consider intervening at the state level if he disagrees with this legislation? Do you think he'd go that far?
No, not at all. Even having a philosophy, whether it's conservative or liberal, we have a republic. This is the republic, not a democracy, which so many people think. And states are the laboratories of democracy. But at the end of the day, the federal government's hands should be tied, particularly when it comes to state level, local level politics.
And do you think ultimately, does Mr. Trump think that all these social issues should be left to the states, even regardless of his personal opinion on the issue?
Well, yes, and that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's what the Constitution says. The government for a very long time has infiltrated the states by using money, which is exactly the tool that they're using to force states to go along these guidelines. And now we see why that the founders of the country set it up so that it wouldn't work that way. The ideal mechanism would be for states to become more financially independent so they wouldn't take federal money and not have to deal with this issue at all. But at the same time, this issue is an issue of states, because there is no definition at the federal level of what gender is.
What do you think it would come down to if Mr. Trump found himself in a situation like this? What do you think he would do?
Well, I think he would just leave it up to the states, and ultimately it will go into the court system, which is exactly the process that will naturally occur, which is exactly the process that North Carolina is following. And then the courts will decide. And that's why so many people are engaged in the political scene today, because so many things have been handled at the federal level, which has contributed to the polarization of this country. Here we are talking about impacting states' economic principles just because a very small percentage of the population may or may not have been affected. These things should be handled at the local level so the federal government doesn't have to get involved at all.
Okay, I want to turn now to the meetings yesterday. I don't think since Mayweather and Pacquiao got together, there's been more anticipation over two men getting together in the same room. But tell me about those meetings on Capitol Hill. What did Mr. Trump say about it with regards to his team? We know that the policy folks were going to meet afterwards. Was there any sort of breakthrough? Do you see that moving in a different direction?
Well, I think it's definitely going the right direction, in the positive direction towards unity, as everyone has seen now in the joint statement.
Everyone says it's positive. What's positive mean? Is there anything tangible with positive?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Positive means you did not see Paul Ryan come out and say, I'm absolutely not endorsing. But what you have seen over the last week is more lawmakers come out. We've had several chairmen in the House come out and support Donald Trump, and previous leaders as well. So that's all in a positive direction. Mr. Trump is not a politician, so a lot of people have been skeptical of how he would govern. And that's understandable, which is why months ago, Mr. Trump started having these conversations with individuals on the Hill, talking about his policies, and now we have seen more lawmakers come out this week, and I'm sure you're going to see more come out later.
It's an interesting dance the two of them have to make here. Clearly, Donald Trump, the presumptive nominee for the GOP party. But Paul Ryan isn't exactly someone to turn your nose up at. He's got clout. He's got friends on the Hill. If you want to get things passed through Congress, you need someone there to help out. How do you make that work?
Well, you also have hundreds of other members that are involved in this process, many of whom Mr. Trump won their districts handily, and that's very important as well. You know, Paul Ryan, they high-fived each other by spending a $1 trillion omnibus bill, and a lot of Republicans aren't on board with that, particularly the base, which in this last primary process, 75% of Republican voters rejected. So this idea that somehow Mr. Trump has to abandon the millions of his voters just to have this notion of unity is false. What's happening now is members are coming together, talking about their differences, and just getting an understanding that Mr. Trump is not their enemy. Mr. Trump is for growing the Republican Party, moving the Republican Party in the right direction, and beating Hillary Clinton in November, which is something that all Republicans agree on.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it, for your time.
Thank you.
And
Great to be
we look
here.
forward to it. Thank you so much.